Shalom, Ashbaka. Thank you for joining me on my YouTube channel, Tina Alyshaba. Today, we'll be reading out of the book of the prophet Enoch, or also known as the Cepher of the prophet Chanoch, chapters 71 through 80 out of the Cepher Bible. And if you're new to this channel, feel free to go to the playlist and look under the Cepher of the prophet Chanoch to listen to previously recorded chapters to catch up. And if you've been reading along with me this whole time, I pray that Yahuwah has continued to give you revelation, new revelation, whether it's your first time reading this or if you've read it many times before, that you're getting something out of it and that it's renewing your mind and you're seeing the heart of the Father in each chapter and His will for your life, and that you're actually applying what you are gleaning from each chapter as well. So without further ado, let's get started. Chapter 71. Afterward, my Ruach was concealed, ascending into the heavens. I beheld the sons of the holy angels treading on flaming fire, whose garments and robes were white, and whose countenances were transparent as crystal. I saw 2 rivers of fire glittering like the hyacinths. Then I fell on my face before Yahuwah Sabaoth, and Michael, one of the archangels, took me by my right hand, raised me up, and brought me out where was every secret mercy and secret righteousness. He showed me all the hidden things of the extremities of heaven, all the receptacles of the stars, and the splendors of all, from whence they went forth before the face of the holy. And he concealed the Ruach of Chanoch in the heaven of heavens. There I beheld, in the midst of that light, a building raised with stones of ice, and in the midst of these stone tongues of living fire. My Ruach saw around the circle of this flaming habitation, on one of its extremities, rivers full of living fire, which encompassed it. Then the seraphim, the cherubim, and ophanim surrounded it. These are those who never sleep, but watch the throne of His glory. And I beheld angels innumerable, thousands of thousands, and myriads, who surrounded that habitation. Michael, Raphael, Gabriel, Punoel, and the holy angels who were in the heavens above went in and out of it. Michael, Raphael, and Gabriel went out of that habitation, and holy angels innumerable. With them was the Ancient of Days, whose head was white as wool and pure, and his robe was indescribable. Then I fell on my face, while all my flesh was dissolved, and my Ruach became changed. I cried out with a loud voice, with a powerful Ruach, blessing, glorifying, and exalting. And those blessings which proceeded from my mouth became acceptable in the presence of the Ancient of Days. The Ancient of Days came with Michael and Gabriel and Raphael and Punoel, with thousands of thousands and myriads, which could not be numbered. Then that angel came to me, and with his voice saluted me, saying, You are the son of Adam, who is born for righteousness, and righteousness has rested upon you. The righteousness of the Ancient of Days shall not forsake you. He said, On you shall he confer peace in the name of the existing world. For from thence has peace gone forth since the world was created. And thus shall it happen to you forever and ever. All who shall exist and who shall walk in your path of righteousness shall not forsake you forever. With you shall be their habitations, with you their lot. Nor from you shall they be separated forever and ever. and thus shall length of days be with the son of Adam. Peace shall be to the righteous, and the path of integrity shall the righteous pursue, in the name of Yahuwah Sabaoth, forever and ever. Chapter 72. The Cepher of the revolutions of the luminaries of heaven, according to their respective classes, their respective powers, their respective periods, their respective names, the places where they commenced their progress, and the respective months, which Yeriel, the holy angel who was with me, explained to me, he who conducted them, the whole account of them, according to every year of the world forever, until a new work shall be effected, which will be eternal. This is the first law of the luminaries. The sun and the light arrive at the gates of heaven, which are on the east, and on the west of it at the western gates of heaven. I beheld the gates whence the sun goes forth, and the gates where the sun sets, in which gates also the moon rises and sets, and the conductors of the stars among those who precede them, 6 at the rising, and 6 at the setting of the sun. All these respectively, one after another, are on a level, and numerous windows are on the right and on the left sides of those gates. First proceeds forth that great luminary, which is called the sun, the orb of which is as the orb of heaven, the whole of it being replete and flaming fire. Its chariot, where it ascends, the wind blows. The sun sets in heaven, and returning by the north to proceed toward the east, is conducted so as to enter by that gate and illuminate the face of heaven. In the same manner it goes forth in the first month by the great gate. It goes forth the fourth of those 6 gates which are at the rising of the sun. And in the 4th gate, from which the sun rises in the first month, there are 12 open windows, from which issues out a flame when they are opened in their proper periods. When the sun rises in heaven, it goes forth through this 4th gate 30 days, and by the 4th gate in the west of heaven on a level with it descends. During that period, the day is lengthened from the day, and the night curtailed from the night for 30 days. And then the day is longer by 2 parts than the night. The day is precisely 10 parts, and the night is 8. The sun goes forth through this 4th gate, and sets in it, and turns to the 5th gate during 30 days, after which it proceeds from and sets in the 5th gate. Then the day becomes lengthened by a second portion, so that it is 11 parts, while the night becomes shortened and is only 7 parts. The sun now returns to the east, entering into the 6th gate, and rising and setting in the 6th gate 31 days, on account of its signs. At that period the day is longer than the night, being twice the night, and become 12 parts. But the night is shortened and becomes 6 parts. Then the sun rises up, that the day may be shortened and the night lengthened. And the sun returns towards the east, entering into the 6th gate, where it rises and sets for 30 days. When that period is completed, the day becomes shortened precisely 1 part, so that it is 11 parts, while the night is 7 parts. Then the sun goes from the west, from the 6th gate, and proceeds eastwards, rising in the 5th gate for 30 days, and setting again westwards in the 5th gate of the west. At that period the day becomes shortened 2 parts, and is 10 parts, while the night is 8 parts. Then the sun goes from the 5th gate as it sets in the 5th gate of the west, and rises in the 4th gate for 31 days, on account of its signs, setting in the west. At that period the day is made equal with the night, and being equal with it, the night becomes 9 parts, and the day 9 parts. Then the sun goes from that gate, as it sets in the west, and returning to the east proceeds by the 3rd gate for 30 days, setting in the west at the 3rd gate. At that period the night is lengthened from the day during 30 mornings, and the day is curtailed from the day during 30 days. The night being 10 parts precisely, and the day 8 parts. The sun now goes from the 3rd gate, as it sets in the 3rd gate in the west. But returning to the east, it proceeds by the 2nd gate of the east for 30 days. In like manner, also it sets in the 2nd gate in the west of heaven. At that period the night is 11 parts, and the day is 7 parts. Then the sun goes at that time from the 2nd gate, as it sets in the 2nd gate in the west, but returns to the east, proceeding by the 1st gate for 31 days, and sets in the west in the 1st gate. At that period the night is lengthened as much again as the day. It is 12 parts precisely, while the day is 6 parts. The sun has completed its beginnings, and a second time goes around from these beginnings. Into that gate it enters for 30 days, and sets in the west, in the opposite part. At that period the night is contracted in its length a 4th part. That is, 1 portion becomes 11 parts. The day is 7 parts. Then the sun returns and enters into the 2nd gate of the east. It returns by these beginnings 30 days, rising and setting. At that period the night is contracted in its length. It becomes 10 parts, and the day 8 parts. Then the sun goes from that 2nd gate and sets in the west, but returns to the east and rises in the east, in the 3rd gate, 31 days, setting in the west of heaven. At that period the night becomes shortened. It is 9 parts, and the night is equal with the day. The year is precisely 364 days. The lengthening of the day and night, and the contraction of the day and night, are made to differ from each other by the progress of the sun. By means of this progress the day is daily lengthened, and the night is greatly shortened. This is the law and progress of the sun, and its turning when it turns back, turning during 60 days, and going forth. This is the great everlasting luminary, that which he names the sun forever and ever. This is also that which goes forth a great luminary, and which is named after its peculiar kind, as Yahuwah commanded. And thus it goes in and out, neither slackening nor resting, but running on its chariot by day and by night. Its light is 7 times brighter than that of the moon, but the dimensions of both are equal. Chapter 73. After this law I beheld another law of an inferior luminary, the name which is the moon, and the orb of which is as the orb of heaven. Its chariot secretly ascends, the wind blows, and light is given to it by measure. Every month at its exit and entrance it becomes changed, and its periods are as the periods of the sun. And when the moon is full, its light is a 7th portion from the light of the sun. Thus it rises, and at its commencement towards the east goes forth for 30 days. At that time it appears, and becomes to you the beginning of the month. 30 days with the sun in the gate from which the sun goes forth. Half of it is in extent 7 portions, 1, and the whole of its orb is void of light, except a 7th portion out of the 14 portions of its light. And in a day it receives a 7th portion, or half of its light. Its light is by sevens, by 1 portion, and by the half. it sets with the sun. And when the sun rises, the moon rises with it, receiving half a portion of light. On that night, when it commences its period, previously to the day of the month, the moon sets with the sun. And on that night, it is dark 14 portions, that is, half, but rises on that day with the seventh portion precisely, and in its progress declines from the rising of the sun. During the remainder of its period, its light increases to 14 portions. Chapter 74. Then I saw another progress and regulation which he effected in the law of the moon. The progress of the moons and everything Uriel showed me, the holy angel which conducted them all. Their stations I wrote down as he showed them to me. I wrote down their months as they occur, and their appearance of their light, until it is completed in 15 days. In each of its 2 7 portions it completes all its lighting at rising and at setting. On stated months it changes settings, and on stated months it makes its progress on each. In 2 the moon sets with the sun, and those 2 gates which are in the midst, in the 3rd and 4th gate, it goes forth for 7 days and makes its circuit. Again it returns to the gate whence the sun goes forth, and in that completes the whole of its light. Then it declines from the sun, and enters in 8 days into the 6th gate, from which the sun goes forth. When the sun proceeds to the 4th gate, it goes forth for 7 days until it passes from the 5th. Again it returns in 7 days to the 4th gate, and completing all its light declines, and passes on by the 1st gate in 8 days, and returns in 7 days to the 4th gate, from which the sun goes forth. Thus I beheld their stations, as according to the fixed order of the months the sun rises and sets. At those times there is an excess of 30 days belonging to the sun in 5 years. All the days belonging to each year of the 5 years, when completed, amount to 364 days, and to the sun and stars belonging 6 days, 6 days in each of the 5 years, 30 days belonging to them. So that the moon has 30 days less than the sun and stars. The moon brings on all the years exactly, that their stations may come neither 2 forwards nor 2 backwards a single day, but that the years may be changed with correct precision in 364 days. In 3 years the days are 1,092. In 5 years they are 1,820. And in 8 years 2,912 days. To the moon alone belong in 3 years 1,062 days. In 5 years it has 50 days less, for an addition being made to 62 days. In 5 years there are 1,770 days. And the days of the moon in 8 years are 2,832 days. For its days in 8 years are less 80 days, which 80 days are in its diminution in 8 years. The year then becomes truly complete according to the station of the moon and the station of the sun, which rise in the gates, which rise and set in them for 30 days. Chapter 75. These are the leaders of the chiefs of the thousands, which are all over creation, and over all the stars, with the 4 which are added and never separated from the place allotted them, according to the complete calculation of the year. And these serve 4 days, which are not calculated in the calculation of the year. Respecting them, men greatly err, for these luminaries truly serve, in the dwelling place of the world, 1 day in the 1st gate, and 1 in the 3rd gate, 1 in the 4th gate, and 1 in the 6th gate. And the harmony of the world becomes complete every 364th state of it. For the signs, the seasons, the years, and the days Uriel showed me, the angel whom Yahuwah of glory appointed over all the luminaries of heaven, and in the world, that they might rule in the face of the sky, and appearing over the earth, become conductors of the days and nights, the sun, the moon, the stars, and all the ministers of heaven, which make their circuit with all the chariots of heaven. Thus Uriel showed me 12 gates open for the circuit of the chariots of the sun in heaven, from which the rays of the sun shoot forth. From these proceed heat over the earth, when they are open in their stated seasons. They are for the winds and the ruach of the dew, when in their seasons they are opened in heaven at extremities. 12 gates I beheld in heaven at the extremities of the earth, through which the sun, moon, and stars, and all the works of heaven proceed at their rising and setting. Many windows also are open on the right and on the left. One window at a season grows extremely hot. So also there are gates from which the stars go forth as they are commanded, and in which they were set according to their number. I saw likewise the chariots of heaven running in the world above to those gates in which the suns turn, which never set. One of these is greater than all, which goes round the whole world. Chapter 76. And at the extremities of the earth I beheld 12 gates open for all the winds, from which they proceed and blow over the earth. 3 of them are open in the front of heaven, 3 in the west, 3 on the right side of heaven, and 3 on the left. The first 3 are those which are towards the east, 3 are towards the north, 3 behind those which are upon the left, towards the south, and 3 on the west. From 4 of them proceed winds of blessing and of health, and from 8 proceeds winds of punishment, when they are sent to destroy the earth, and the heaven above it, and all its inhabitants, and all which are in the waters and on dry land. The first of these winds proceed from the gate termed the eastern, through the first gate on the east, which inclines southward. From this goes forth destruction, drought, heat, and perdition. From the second gate, the middle one, proceeds equity. There issues from it rain, fruitfulness, health, and dew. And from the third gate northward proceeds cold and drought. After these proceed from the south winds through the 3 principal gates. Through their first gate, which inclines eastward, proceeds a hot wind. But from the middle gate proceed grateful odor, dew, rain, health, and life. From the third gate, which is westwards, proceed dew, rain, blight, and destruction. After these are the winds to the north, which is called the sea, from 3 gates. The 7th gate is on the east, inclining southwards. From this proceeds dew, rain, blight, and destruction. From the middle direct gate proceed rain, dew, life, and health. And from the third gate, which is westwards, inclining towards the south, proceed mist, frost, snow, rain, dew, and blight. After these 4 are the winds to the west. From the first gate, inclining northwards, proceeds dew, rain, frost, cold, snow, and chill. From the middle gate proceed rain, health, and blessing. And from the last gate, which is southwards, proceed drought, destruction, scorching, and perdition. The account of the 12 gates of the 4 quarters of heaven is ended. All their laws, all their punishment, and the health of them have I explained to you, my son Methuselah. Chapter 77. The first wind is called the eastern, because it is the first. The second is called the south, because Yahuwah there descends, and frequently there descends, and is blessed forever. The western wind has the name of diminution, because there all the luminaries of heaven are diminished and descend. The fourth wind, which is named the north, is divided into 3 parts, one of which is for the habitation of man, another for seas of water, with valleys, woods, rivers, shady places, and snow, and the third part, paradise. 7 high mountains I beheld, higher than all the mountains of the earth, from which frost proceeds, while days, seasons, and years depart and pass away. 7 rivers I beheld upon earth, greater than all rivers, one of which takes its course from the west. Into a great sea its water flows. 2 come from the north to the sea, their waters flowing into the Euphrates Sea on the east. And with respect to the remaining 4, they take their course in the cavity of the north, 2 to their sea, the Euphrates Sea, and 2 are poured into a great sea, where also it is said it is a desert. 7 great islands I saw in the sea, and on the earth, 7 in the great sea. Chapter 78. The names of the sun are these: 1, Ariares, the other Thomas. The moon has 4 names. The first is Asonia, the second, Ebla, the third, Benes, and the fourth, Array. These are the 2 great luminaries, whose orbs are as the orbs of heaven, and the dimensions of both are equal. In the orb of the sun are 7 parts of light, which are added to it more to the moon. By measure it is put in, until the 7th portion of the sun is departed. They enter into the western gate, circuit by the north, and through the eastern gate go forth over the face of heaven. When the moon rises, it appears in heaven, and the half of the 7th portion of light is all in it. In the 14, the whole of its light is completed. 3 quintuples light is put into it, until 15 its light is completed, according to the signs of the year. It has 3 quintuples. The moon has the half of a 7th portion. During its diminution, on the first day its light decreases on a 14th part. On the 2nd day it decreases a 13th part. On the 3rd day a 12th part. On the 4th day an 11th part. On the 5th day a 10th part. On the 6th day a 9th part. On the 7th day it decreases an 8th part. On the 8th day it decreases a 7th part. On the 9th day it decreases a 6th part. On the 10th day it decreases a 5th part. On the 11th day it decreases a 4th part. On the 12th day it decreases 3rd part. On the 13th day it decreases a 2nd part. On the 14th day it decreases a half of the 7th part. On the 15th day the whole remainder of its light is consumed. On stated months the moon has 29 days. It also has a period of 28 days. Uriel likewise showed me another regulation, when light is poured into the moon, how it is poured into it from the sun. All the time that the moon is in progress with its light, it is poured in the presence of the sun, until light is in 14 days completed in heaven. And when it is wholly extinguished, its light is consumed in heaven, and on the first day it is called the new moon, for on that day light is received into it. It becomes precisely completed on the day that the sun descends into the west, while the moon ascends at night from the east. The moon then shines all the night until the sun rises before it, when the moon disappears in turn before the sun. When the light comes to the moon, there again it decreases, until all its light is extinguished, and the days of the moon pass away. Then its orb remains solitary without light. During 3 months its effect, and 30 days its period, and during 3 months its effect it in 29 days each, in which it affects its decrease in its first period, and in the first gate in 177 days. And at the time of its going forth during 3 months, it appears 30 days each, and during 3 months it appears 29 days each. In the night it appears for each 20 as a man, and in the days as heaven, for it is nothing else except its light. Chapter 79. And now, my son Methuselah, I have shown you everything, and every ordinance of the stars of heaven is finished. He showed me every ordinance respecting these, which at all times and in all seasons, under every influence, in all years, at the arrival and under the rule of each, during every month and every week. Also the decrease of the moon, which is effected in the 6th gate, for in the 6th gate is its light consumed. From this is the beginning of the month, and its decrease is effected in the 6th gate in its period, until 177 days are completed, according to the mode of calculation by weeks, 25 and 2 days. It is less than that of the moon, according to the ordinance of the stars, by 5 days in one time precisely. When that visible situation is completed, such is the appearance and likeness of every luminary, which Uriel, the great angel, who conducts them, showed to me. Chapter 80. In those days Uriel answered and said to me, Behold, I have showed you all things, O Chanoch, and all things have I revealed to you. You see the sun, the moon, and those which conduct the stars of heaven, which cause all their operations, seasons, and arrivals to return. In the days of sinners the years shall be shortened. Their seed shall be backward in their prolific soil, and everything done on earth shall be subverted and disappear in its season. The rain shall be restrained, and heaven shall stand still. In those days the fruits of the earth shall be late, and not flourish in their season. And in their season the fruits of the trees shall be withheld. The moon shall change its laws, and not be seen at its proper period. But in those days shall heaven be seen, and barrenness shall take place in the borders of the great chariots in the west. It shall shine more than the orders of light, while many chiefs among the stars of authority shall err, perverting their ways and works. Those shall not appear in their season, who commanded them, and all the classes of the stars shall be shut up against sinners. The thoughts of those who dwell on the earth shall transgress within them, and they shall be perverted in all their ways. They shall transgress and think themselves Elohim, while evil shall be multiplied among them, and punishment shall come upon them, so that all of them shall be destroyed. This concludes the reading of the Cepher of the prophet Chanoch, chapters 71 through 80. Hallelujah. So Mashpika, we got a very detailed explanation of the luminaries, very much so regarding the sun, and definitely, regarding the moon cycle. I think kind of a couple things that I just want to point out real briefly, so this recording doesn't go too much longer, is I think by chapter 72, it's just a reminder that the flat earth, we are on a flat earth, and the big lie that the earth is round. The sun and moon are equal in size, we learn in this chapter, whereas modern science will have us thinking that the earth is really small and that the sun is, I don't even know, I'm going to exaggerate right now, like 100 times bigger, and that the earth revolves around the sun, where it's actually the sun rotates around the earth. And we also learned that it's 364-day cycle. And I believe our calendar, our modern day calendar, is based off of 365 days, in addition to leap years, etc., and so forth. So that's kind of my takeaway from chapter 72. Chapter 77, I had to actually pause and go into Google, because the whole 7 mountains, 7 rivers, 7 great islands, I was like, this is kind of cool, 777, and we all know that the number 7 is completion. But just a quick shout out, 7 high mountains, I Googled, or the 7 summits. In Asia, it's Mount Everest. In South America, it's Aconcagua. I think that's how you say it. North America, Denali. Africa, Kilimanjaro. Europe, Mount Elbrus. Antarctica, Mount Vinson. And in Australia, Mount Puncak Jaya. I believe that's how that's said. And then the 7 rivers, and I'm just going to equate it as the 7 oceans: the Arctic, North Atlantic, South Atlantic, North Pacific, South Pacific, Indian, and Southern Ocean. And quick shout out to the Erythraean Sea. I actually looked that up as well, and according to Google, it's part of the modern day Red Sea. But overall, it's could be referring to the Indian Ocean as well. So if any of you all have any intake on that, definitely post it in the comments. And lastly, the 7 great islands. I took that to represent the 7 continents, which include Asia, Africa, Europe, North America, South America, Antarctica, and Australia. So that was my takeaway from that chapter. But if there's anything that that you feel that you would like to share in the comments with the fam, please post it. If you're new to this channel, welcome. As I've mentioned earlier, you can go to the playlist and catch up, by clicking on the Cepher of the prophet Chanoch. But also I've recorded the prophet Jeremiah, Isaiah, which is under, Yirmiyahu and Yashayahu. There's other books in there. I recorded Jubilees or Yehovalim. You can read Deuteronomy or Devarim. There's Shemoth, or the book of Exodus. There's the book of Psalms or Tehillim. The book of Proverbs, which is Meshli. So I've definitely done many other books before that, you can read at your leisure. Because, Yahuwah says, meditate on my word day and night. And this is how we renew our minds daily. This is how we grow in our walk with Yahuwah, by studying his word. Hallelujah. And if the reading of Yahuwah's word has been a blessing to you, please share, like, and subscribe. Ane ahabata mashpika. I love you, family. Yahuwah barakata. Yahuwah bless you. Shalom.